Welcome in, listener. You're listening to a segment from the Slumpbuster podcast with Ju-Ju and Dre. Find the full episode on Spotify, iTunes, the Google Play Store, or our YouTube channel. Enjoy.
Yeah, too bad you always blow it in the interview.
So, Peter, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Don't say doing your wife. Don't say doing your wife. Don't say doing your wife.
So we're waiting for the 32 owners, the 32 teams, Roger Goodell, all of them to stop running. Stop running from the truth. Stop running from the people. We're out here. We're ready to play. We're ready to go anywhere. My agent, Jeff Nally, is ready to talk to any team. I'll interview with any team at any time. I've been ready. I'm staying ready. And I'll continue to be ready.
Let's get into these week's headlines. So we've been talking about the Kaepernick thing here a little bit in the intro, but let's kind of digest a little bit what happened. So we mentioned his workout last week. We talked about all the potential ramifications, all the landing spots, what were good fits, what were bad fits. And then it came time for it to the whole event to actually take place. And I just remember reading a notification on my phone, the workout is moved to a different facility in Atlanta, a high school facility, as opposed to where it was previously scheduled to be at the Atlanta Falcons facility. And not only a high school, but a high school 60 miles across town, which I've only heard horror stories of Atlanta traffic, but it's not a great scene. It actually makes Austin traffic look somewhat reasonable. And some of those Atlanta drivers actually make Albuquerque drivers look smart.
Yeah. And if you don't know Albuquerque drivers, trust me, nobody has a license here.
Accurate. New Mexico license doesn't mean a whole lot, but moving onward. Anyway, so Kaepernick, this all happened like I said, an hour before it was supposed to take place. So if you give people an hour to drive off to a facility an hour ahead of time, chances are they're either not going to make it, be substantially late, or just, tell you to fuck off, honestly, And that's kind of what happened here, because we had a list of about 24 to 25 teams that were actually interested in going to see what Kaepernick had to provide. And only about 8 teams reportedly showed up to the actual event. Some scouts apparently told Kaepernick some good things. We've all seen the Twitter tapes of him throwing a bomb to end the throwing session. But does this help his chances getting back in the NFL at all?
I don't think so. And if anything, him taking the action to move it, right? Like you said, an hour beforehand, and it's going to be an hour away now, and it's an hour earlier. I just think this is as close to a job interview, I think, as pro athletes get, is these sort of combines and these workouts, these type of events. And you're basically telling your future employer, hey, screw you, right? I'm going to do things my way. And future employers don't like that. I couldn't imagine me showing up to a job interview and then telling them, oh, no, you guys have to come meet me an hour across town and an hour, beforehand. I just wouldn't get that job. And so I think Colin Kaepernick's chances now, especially with how he handled this, I think this was sort of his last chance, sort of his last straw. And we could dive into this a little bit deeper. I don't think everything that he did was necessarily wrong or where he was coming from. I don't think all of it was 100% wrong. But I think his chances of being in the NFL are basically over.
Now, do you think it's a acceptable thing to wear a Kunta Kinte shirt to a job interview? Aundre, what's your thoughts on that one?
I know, and this is coming from a guy that is half black, right? And I 100% get that there are still racial issues, right? And not to get political on this podcast, right? I don't want to bring politics into this at all. But I'll have conversations about, certain race issues and things like that. But Colin Kaepernick, for the longest time, has been trying to tell everybody, no, I just want to play. I want to get back into football. And then when he reschedules this workout to his own preference and then wears a Kunta Kinte shirt and then has a bunch of supporters in the stands that are all, wearing what looks to be the same outfit, right? So it must have been coordinated. This is basically telling you, maybe he had some intentions of actually working out, performing, and trying to get back onto the field. But he wanted to use it mostly just for his platform to be vocal about, his causes and his viewpoints. And I just don't think that that's an acceptable thing to wear to a job interview.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how his girlfriend disparaged Ray Lewis and the Ravens owner, when he was nearing a deal with them a few years back. But you go to this workout and you're essentially calling your future boss, y'all are a bunch of slave owners, y'all have this mentality where you own me. It's dude, I'm going to tell you just, no, we're done here. There's no instance in which I'm going to hire you in any company if you're starting off on that basis alone, where you're throwing out one of the most horrible accusations you can throw out to someone calling them either a racist or they have that kind of like mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, granted, these owners, they make a ton of money. They're a lot more well off than the football players. But you're right. No owner wants to sit there and be told, right, that they're basically a slave owner or that they have a slave owner mentality, like you're saying. And it just rubs people the wrong way. And this, honestly, if Colin Kaepernick was about football, this is the thing that keeps him out of the league. This is what turns fans off. I really think that he has had a major impact in America's society when it comes to, kneeling for that purpose. And there's some people that don't agree with it, and which, is absolutely right. And I think he had some impact, though, on the shootings of unarmed Black men and women. But now it's sort of just gone off the rails, and it seems like every chance he gets, he just wants to get more and more out there with his viewpoints and spreading, his sort of political, I don't want to call it propaganda, but sort of his political stance, what he thinks. And that's just the stuff that people don't really want to hear anymore, and they don't want to really see it. So it's just, he keeps basically digging his grave deeper and deeper.
It depends on a matter of perspective. Like, who's he digging this grave for? Like, the people that support him are always just going to support him blindly, rightfully so. Doesn't matter. I was watching First Take the other day with Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Now, Stephen A. has come over some heavy criticism from the Colin Kaepernick camp because he criticized Kaepernick. And I don't know, like, if you really know much about, like, Stephen A.'s history, but the guy's been one of the strongest Black advocates in America today. What he did with Skip on the first iteration of First Take is like a model. You have a Caucasian man, a African-American man standing across the table and sharing viewpoints about something that usually connects us, sports. And you have people from Colin Kaepernick's camp that are now calling him phrases like Uncle Tom and stuff just because he was critical of Colin and like how this whole situation broke down. I just can't support that. And I don't want to see that. And again, too, I'm a Niners fan. I loved Colin Kaepernick. His play, everything about him. I supported him when he came under some dumb, ridiculous criticism back in the day. I supported him when Alex Smith and him, which direction do the Niners go? I supported him when the regime changed and everyone was like, oh, Harbaugh's out, let's get rid of Kaepernick. No, the guy had something there. And now I'm over it. I'm over potentially even seeing him play again just because I don't really think he's earned a place in the league at this point.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. What I will say is, going back to sort of the whole Stephen A. thing is, I think it's 100% okay to be critical of Kaepernick, regardless of what race you are or what your viewpoints are. And, I'm a huge Colin Kaepernick supporter, right? Like, I think athletes should have the freedom to speak their own mind, right? And their freedom to protest how they see fit, as long as it's not endangering somebody's life. But that being said, like, I can be critical of Kaepernick, and I encourage anybody else, if like you want to be critical of any athlete, right? There's people critical of LeBron James. Like, feel free, like, it's your right, criticize him, regardless of, race or preference, all that. That being said, though, I don't think the NFL is 100% blameless in this either. What are your thoughts on sort of how the NFL set up the workout? Do you think that there really was some issues with like the legal paperwork? What do you think?
Well, and this is a matter of perspective of who you believe put this out there into the atmosphere. But I was hearing that prior to this, there was a ton of interest in actually bringing Kaepernick in. And you got to remember, so the NFL didn't have to do this. In theory, if you really want to think about it, they had already settled with Kaepernick. So like this issue was pretty much a dead issue. I don't remember anyone bringing up his name in the last few months. It was just kind of one of those under the rug issues. And they went out of their way to schedule this workout. And granted, it didn't end up ideal, obviously, how we're talking about it now. But I do think it was still a legitimate opportunity that had Kaepernick played ball a little bit with them, he might have been on a roster by today.
I don't know. I still think that it smelled a little bit fishy from the get-go. Like we talked about a little bit last week, and I don't want to completely rehash it, but the timing seemed off. It wasn't really negotiated with Kaepernick's camp at all, which I get the NFL is basically saying like, look, we have the power, and if you want the job, you come meet our standards when we tell you. But at the same time, you would have thought that, hey, if they really are giving Kaepernick a chance, we're not just going to schedule it some random Saturday and give him a call 3 days before and tell him to be ready,
Yeah, but you have this guy that's just lambasting you on Twitter like half the time. Isn't there like a part of you that just wants to say, all right, here's your opportunity. You've been saying you want this for like months and months and months and months. Well, here it is. Do what you want with it. But here's your opportunity. You have one shot. Eminem, lose yourself. This is your moment. Lose yourself in it.
mom spaghetti all over your sweater, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mom spaghetti all over your Kunta Kinte shirt.
No, I mean, I get where you're coming from, but at the same time, a little bit of conspiracy theory-ish type stuff in my mind, right, is that we talked about it a little bit yesterday, is that a Saturday is a really strange day to have a workout, right? Like even a Wednesday or Tuesday would have been better, but a Saturday, that's when most of the scouts are watching college football, or you're preparing your team to play a game tomorrow, right? So if all the coaches, they're going to be preparing their teams. A lot of the GM scouts, all that stuff, they're going to be getting ready to hop on a plane to go watch the game in person. And so there's not a whole lot of people that would really come out on a Saturday. And then catching Colin Kaepernick off guard, not letting him know at all, like that to me almost seems like, hey, we're going to catch you off guard and we're going to have reasons basically to say that, no, you don't belong in the league anymore. It's like, hey, no, we had these workouts for Colin on Saturday and we told him when to be there. But if he's not prepared, like there's no way that he's going to really be able to perform at his best with just 3 days notice, right? And then some of the other issues too with like the media not being allowed, because then you have to take the NFL's word for it and, the word of these anonymous scouts of how did Colin Kaepernick really perform? Well, there's no video. There wouldn't have been any video evidence, I should say, if, Colin had gone with the workout the way it was supposed to. There's nothing that Colin could have put out from his team to say, no, here's how I really performed, right? The NFL could potentially be lying and just saying, no, Colin sucks, so we don't have to give him a job. And then the last thing is there was some, debate about the legal paperwork that he had to sign. Some people say, well, it's just the typical free agent waiver that, they offer to all the free agents. But then I've also heard they added in some language, right, that could have sort of jeopardized some of his rights as sort of an employee or contractor or free agent. And, that they were trying to be a little bit sneaky with some legal terms in that. So to me, I get a little bit of where Colin's coming from. This to me seemed fishy.
Okay, so let's kind of like piece by piece this. I will start off by saying that I do agree that I kind of have to see where he's coming from as far as allowing the cameras in there. So the NFL did kind of step in it with this one. I'll start off the bat when they said that Nike was preparing to release some sort of ad campaign or something based around this. Mm-hmm. And Nike came out and said, no, that's not happening. So that's fair. That's a fair criticism as far as the NFL and what their sources are putting out there. Mm-hmm. And also a fair criticism in the NFL too is just in general allowing any kind of media access, because I mean, we're in it right now. We're basically part of the sports media industry here. And I do think that, let's say we had the opportunity to go to the workout ourselves and the NFL came and said, no. I think we may have taken some issue with that, because it's like, no, this is like legitimately our right. Since we're part of the press, part of the media, we have a obligation to go and check it out for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and I do think that that's kind of like a restriction there of the freedom of the press to be able to indulge in that workout. They're kind of like see for their own eyes and allow the American citizen or the consumer of the NFL to be able to make an opinion based off what Kaepernick put out there. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as the contract itself, again, going back to Stephen A., on first take, he brought out the contract that Colin was asked to sign and the contract that is pretty standard for any NFL combine, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And the one like phrase that was kind of like twisted and put in there was basically along the lines of, hey, if you do not get a job in the NFL because of this workout, you are not allowed to then come back and sue us again. Now, they've already settled on this prior, but he could still come up with a civil suit as far as this goes too, from my understanding of it. Not a professional lawyer. I just, watch Legal Eagle on YouTube, but that's a start.
That's all you need, Ju-Ju.
That's a start. Guy's very good. I like his YouTube channel. He still hasn't mastered bird law, but he'll get there. Anyway, so as far as that goes, I do kind of see where he's coming from on those points. If what others are saying that this would have like completely hindered his right to do any kind of legal action with the NFL. Granted, I don't know what basis he really has to stand on anymore as far as like legal action. What more can he really do? Is he just treating the NFL like a bank at that point if he was to sue them again? Because, I mean, I feel like the issue's dead at this point. He's already basically put it out there that he doesn't want to be in the NFL. Yeah. From what I've seen. This workout was basically his bullet point statement. I do not want to be in the NFL. This is just a platform for me to basically again, put out, like you said, his political views, because there was literally no effort on his end to make this work. I feel like in a business relationship or any kind of relationship, there's some give or take. I feel like there was no give and take in this one.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. And like I said, I don't think that the NFL was completely blameless. And I get Colin Kaepernick's and his team's, sort of stance on, hey, here's all the things that the NFL did wrong. But then you're exactly right, is that Colin Kaepernick's reaction, I think he just took it way too far. If he were to redo things, right, or if I were in Colin Kaepernick's shoes and I really wanted a workout and I really wanted to be seen, I wouldn't have worn the Kunta Kinte shirt. I might have rescheduled the location just to allow media in, but I would have told everybody, like, hey, we're going to keep it at the same time, and we'll go to a high school that's within a 5-minute drive. So that way you don't have to go too far. But then I can still have the media and everybody see exactly what it is that we're doing, right? And that there's no secrets. I've got nothing to hide. But at the end of the day, like you said, Kaepernick, he basically wanted to take the stance of, I'm going to use this as my platform to showcase, my political views or try to make a statement. And I think now it's sort of, hey, he doesn't really care about football anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing, you mentioned it looked choreographed with like the people that came out to support him. I mean, they obviously knew this location was taking place before even the executives that were supposed to meet him at the Atlanta facility. Here's the thing, though. Like, we're talking about those people as if they're not like big timers in the NFL, as if they have no weight as far as the team transactions here. These guys, from everything I'm told, are in the GM pipeline, which basically means if someone gets fired or some NFL team moves off of their current GM, these guys could potentially slot up. So there's a lot of opportunity for quarterback positions in the NFL. And I do think there was a legitimate chance for this to turn into something for him.
Yeah. No, it's just a big disappointment. I mean, I wanted to see how it would turn out, and I think it sort of just turned into a clown show, which we sort of knew, like, there was the risk of that happening when you get Colin Kaepernick in the NFL. Of course, they're not going to agree on everything. And unfortunately, you're right. I think Colin Kaepernick's chances are done. And it seems like it was unfortunately a waste of the NFL's time and some of the scouts' time. So would I like to see Kaepernick get another chance at the NFL? Sure. But yeah, I think it's pretty much over for him.